A lot has been made this year about the minimum wage, driven by campaigns in the US to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Some of these campaigns have been successful in implementing the policy, and what I would like to do is explain why not only is raising the minimum wage a dangerous idea, but also why having a minimum wage in the first place is a bad policy. People constantly talk about companies supposedly exploiting employees for profits, offering low wages and long working hours. The other side of this is all too often ignored, however, that being that those employees voluntarily agree to provide those hours in exchange for the specified wage. It is a transaction, a trade like any other. I am often then informed that it is not voluntary, as people have responsibilities and need the income. This argument, if it were valid, would however apply to the companies as well, since they need the labour being provided. The argument, however, is not valid, as it is not changing the voluntary nature of the transaction. You are not forced to hire, nor are you forced to accept the job. There are consequences of your decision should you accept or decline it, as with every decision in life. But that does not mean that you are forced to make one of those decisions over another. The minimum wage, as enforced by the state, is an outside intervention into a voluntary agreement, a claim that you have the right to prevent someone offering their services at a certain price, as well as preventing others from requesting services at a certain price. We would not accept this in any other area of life. We would not accept the state setting a minimum price for a product we wish to purchase in a shop, so why will we therefore accept a minimum mandated price for people's time? There are those whose labour and skills are not worth this price, those that either do not wish to nor can provide equivalent value for the mandated wage. These people are priced out of the market, leaving them either only able to work illegally at great personal risk or forever consigned to unemployment and a life on the welfare state. If, for a hypothetical example, you have £10 an hour to spend on employing people, you may employ 2 lower skilled workers for £5 an hour, or 1 more experienced worker for £10 an hour. There are benefits and drawbacks to either decision. If, however, the minimum wage is set at £10 an hour, your decision is made for you. You will always hire the one person at £10 an hour, leaving the lower skilled workers to look for employment elsewhere. There is no incentive to take them on. The price for the quality of work is not there. By forcing many people into unemployment and inevitably into the arms of the welfare state, the burden on funding for it, and in turn the national debt, will increase, leading to a requirement for higher taxation to pay for the increased number of unemployed people. This, of course, will mitigate or wipe out any supposed wage increases for those who are still in work. A claim I hear commonly from advocates for a higher minimum wage is that people would have more money to spend and therefore it would boost the economy, completely ignoring that the places where that money is to be spent will have higher outgoings when paying wages, forcing prices up and making that extra money completely worthless. Because of this, the only change is the numerical amount of money, the number that you can see, but the relative value of that money has not increased. The poor get no richer. Only those that were on higher wages before and that do not get a raise will become poorer comparatively. £10 would be worth less after the increase than it did before. With companies now having to pay out higher amounts in salaries to their employees, they will of course need to offset those losses somewhere, of which there are 2 reasonable courses of action. Either they can increase the cost of the products or services they provide and in turn increase their incoming finances to cover that cost, or they can fire or make staff redundant to lower their outgoing finances. This disproportionately affects smaller or more specialist businesses, companies that operate on smaller profit margins and lack the economies of scale that larger multinationals have, inevitably leading to smaller companies going out of business, of course leaving their staff unemployed, and further monopolising the market by eliminating competition for the larger companies. Is it any wonder that it is often larger companies that support the increase and smaller ones that oppose it? Increasing the minimum wage is merely a means of devaluing a currency to make economic and income statistics look more promising. It does nothing to improve quality of life for people. In fact, it does the opposite. It sets a target wage for people to be employed at, whereas without it, an employer would have to look at what a certain role is worth to them and set a competitive price for it to attract applicants. a minimum wage allows them to potentially pay a lot less. It sets a precedent that this is how much people's time is worth. And even ignoring everything I've said, ignoring the lowering of your money's value, ignoring the increased poverty and unemployment, ignoring the monopolization of the market in favour of multinational companies, why that amount? Why $15 an hour? Why not $16 an hour? Why not $20 an hour? Why not even $100 an hour? Surely that would make everyone richer. When you realise that it is an entirely arbitrary amount, and that it is proposed with a foolish assumption that by increasing the minimum wage, nothing else whatsoever will change, that nobody will lose their job, that no prices will change, and that £1 today will still be worth £1 tomorrow, you also realise what a horribly flawed policy the minimum wage is.